Right, now the Met Office has issued a danger to life warning as Storm Kathleen is set to batter parts of the UK.
Well, it's set to bring rain and winds of up to 70 miles an hour. Well, joining us now is weather journalist Nathan Rao. Good to see you this morning, Nathan.
Good morning, good morning.
But not good news if you're in the eye of this storm.
No, I know, and it always seems that whenever I'm sat here with you lovely people, there's something horrific going on outside.
True.
And we are back in wind and rain and storm season again. Kathleen is going to barrel in today. It's April. We don't really expect to see this sort of thing in April. She is number 11 storm of the storm season, which kicks off in September. And she's going to arrive in a pretty bad mood. And she's going to stick around.
I know that feeling.
Yeah, I know. 70-mile-per-hour gusts you mentioned, those are going to be on the peripheries, on the exposed areas down the west coast, which is where the Met Office warning for up to 70-mile-per-hour gusts is today. That is the west coast of England, Scotland and Wales, and she's going to stick around all day. Towards the east of the country, it won't be so bad. It's going to be a wet and blustery day pretty much everywhere, but to the east, it's not going to be as bad as it is to the west. And tomorrow, a bit blustery again as she moves northwards. And there we go, number 11, Storm Kathleen. We are back in storm season.
The problem is when you say, well, it's, you know, for some parts of the east and what have you, it's not going to be as bad and it's going to be a bit blustery. The trouble is, any rainfall at the moment, the ground is just absolutely saturated. It takes nothing for the flooding to come back.
Absolutely, and there are more than 100 Environment Agency flood alerts in place and some more serious flood warnings. The problem is that since the start of the storm season, which starts in September, which is when they start naming storms, we've had 11 now, and with those has come a lot of heavy rain and a lot of persistent rain. Now, when we're talking about flooding, we're talking about either river flooding or surface water flooding or groundwater flooding. And because we've had so much rain over a sustained period of time, the groundwater, the water tables are right up high, and any more on top of that is going to cause flooding. So where you do get rain, you get this persistent ongoing problem of flooding. Over the last few months, we've been dominated by low pressure in the UK. Now, low pressure is what we associate with bad, wet and windy weather, and high pressure in the summer is what we associate with good weather. We've been under the influence of low pressure, and that's wet and windy. We're hoping that as we go into summer, high pressure is going to build, and that'll bring some drier, more settled conditions. But as you say, any more rain in the worst hit regions, especially along the west and the southwest and the south, is going to bring the problem of flooding. So Kathleen today, yes, could bring some problems with that.
Nathan, are we seeing more and more of these very serious storms, these named storms? As you say, there's number 11. We've got to the letter K. We
have, and this is the first time that's happened since 2016. Now, we started naming, or the Met Office with Met Éireann started naming storms in 2015. So it could be a symptom of, because we now have a name system in place. Prior to 2015, it's sort of difficult to keep a tab on how many storms there were, because they were sort of named sporadically. Now we have a set list. This year has been unusual in that we have seen 11. Last year, we only saw 2. We saw Anthony and we saw Betty, and they both crept in at the very end of the season. Now, I don't think we can say we're seeing a general trend of seeing more. This is an unusual year, 11. Usually we expect to see about 6 or 7. I think that we are noticing them more because we're naming them, and we're recognising when they come up. And this year has been unusual. But the trend tends to be about average. This year is unusual in seeing 11.
Right. It's kept you in work.
It has,
You're
yes.
always here, to be fair.
I sit at home, you know, praying for a storm to happen so I can come in and spend the morning with you.
Nathan, before we let you go, and I think you're probably going to ask the same thing.
What?
I know Stephen's going to be very jealous of your tie. Did you wear that intentionally?
I wore this in honour of the full solar eclipse that is going to be happening on Monday. Sort of a weathery thing, not quite.
When? Where?
In America. You have to go to America to see it. The path of totality, which is where the moon passes in front of the sun, blocks it out briefly. That's going to be along the east coast of America. So all the Americans are going to be out trying to catch this solar eclipse. But the weather's going to be foul there as well. So they might not see it. But yes, a planetary tie I thought was appropriate for everything that's going on in the atmosphere at the moment.
Very good.
Very nice.
Stephen will be buying that next. Just to watch.
I like that very much. Nathan, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.